How does a game go from 9 million players down to nothing? Back in 2009, Fusionfall was a massively popular MMORPG involving Cartoon Network shows. You heard that back in prime Cartoon Network days? They knew this was easy money because what they did immediately was lock it behind a $6 per month subscription when it launched. Until they realized it's not 2025 yet, we can't do this. No one's buying it. But now it's dead. Like, literally it's dead. It shut down in 2013. But how am I playing it now, and is anyone still playing this game 16 years later? To put it simply, this is Fusionfall Retribution, an unofficial version of the game from 2021 which was made by fans. This is where I'm going to be spending 30 days hoping to find the remnants of the Fusionfall community. But before Retribution, there were two other attempts at an unofficial version of the game. One was a reimagining of the original game, promising new characters, new weapons, and new areas. This was called Fusionfall Legacy. The other one was the old and dusty version of the original game, brought back from the grave, and that's pretty much it. That's called Fusionfall Retro. Both of them were taken out to the back alley and gunned down by Cartoon Network, as well as the owners of Total Drama Island, because the legacy version included a character that he didn't allow permission to use. Retribution is like that weird middle child where, like, it is retro, but it also has new additions like weapons and outfits, and occasionally for the events, they'll add a sneaky new character here and there, but they'll take it away like it didn't happen, so don't tell Cartoon Network. The first thing I wanted to do on day one was simply find someone and make a friend. But how this game works is like any other MMORPG, where you have your low level areas and your high level areas which you need to level up towards. So I need to find someone new to the game that'll actually be in a low level area as well. But we ain't done there, because the first portion of the game is like a tutorial, and it's locked to people level 4 and below, because once you're level 5 you can't come back to this area, so I actually have to find someone new to the game. Well, I found someone. Oh my god, it's a person. It's an actual person. That wasn't long at all. But they just didn't talk to me, and I never saw them again. So they may as well have not even shown up. The missions in this game are quite honestly the most generic, turn your brain off type of missions that you can get in the gaming. By level 2, you've done every type of mission in this game. You're basically just doing it to level up, get new weapons and items, get a new nano, and that's it. You're not paying attention to the story. In this tutorial section of the game, you're able to find 2 boss type enemies, which led me to find my second person in this game who actually spoke to me, Lucario15, our first friend. So, why has he chosen to play this game? I'm actually really surprised I found someone. We're both same level. Nostalgia, yes! Yes, same. Well, you know, more to it, but you know, nostalgia reasons too. Nostalgia, which I assumed would be most people's reason to keep playing this game. But I also asked them if we were going to keep playing this game, because we're around the same level too, so maybe we can, you know, help each other. Grind. Very big thinker, this guy, isn't he? It takes a while to reply to what you wanna hear. I'm going to keep playing. Oh, interesting. I never saw this man online ever again. Surprisingly enough, I was only alone for 20 more minutes until running into someone else, but they fully left mid-conversation. I had never felt so disrespected before in my life. However, there was one person that really stuck out to me and really helped me along my journey. Bakemono Yokai 5. See, this guy was doing it different. He wasn't simply doing his missions, no. He was grinding. He was farming these 2 bosses that you can find in this section of the game, because they drop rare item sets, and once you leave the tutorial area, you can't come back. So you miss your chance on getting them if you don't get them now. He actually ended up taking me under his wing like he was my sensei and I was his student. He hooked me up with a few items he had, completely free of charge, gave me a couple tips like golden eggs you can find and how often the bosses spawn. We even wore matching shirts. I met this dude like 10 minutes ago, and I felt like we were like this, like we can't be separated, I would die for this man. So we formed a party and he helped me along with my missions, and we also hunted a boss together. So a bit more about why this place is for low levels only. This whole part of the game is set in the future, where the world is ruined, and the rest of the game takes place in the past, where, you know, everything's all fine, but, you know, we're stopping it before it happens type of thing. It was nearing the end of day 1, and before heading off for tonight, ready for the past, we killed one more boss together in hopes of him getting the item he wanted, which he unfortunately didn't get. But it would be here that the first day is now done, and without knowing it, I actually wouldn't see Bakemono Yokai 5 ever again after this, which is a shame because I really thought we could, you know, stick together through this game. You'll notice this become a trend more and more as the game goes on, but this game is like the opposite of letting people stay together. It tries to take you all over the place, never staying in one spot, and I can't stress enough how tedious the missions are, so I'm not too surprised that people do come and go. Day 2 was pretty significant because it's pretty much the start of the real game because I'm now in the past. The land of the free. One of the first things I knew I wanted to do in this area was get a vehicle, because the way the missions are designed, you have to go from one location, go and kill these enemies over here, go to another location, get an objective marker maybe, or kill more enemies, and then maybe if you're lucky, the mission will end there, but most likely, you're gonna have to do one more thing like kill more enemies or another objective marker in a different location, and then the mission is done. And that's pretty much every single mission in this game apart from the infected zones, which is more like a 3D platformer, so they're somewhat, and I say this very loosely, somewhat more enjoyable. So I knew I wanted to speed it up at least a little bit. This felt like changing the speed of a video from 1.0 to 1.05. Like, yeah, it's a little faster, sure, but like, I feel like I got scammed. It's barely any different. At this point, any small benefit was worth it, and I didn't have enough money for the fast ones just yet. So you know how I said I never saw Bakemono again? Well, I did, he just didn't talk to me this time.
Hey, Bakemono.
Damn, he's in full business mode. He's doing his missions. So I don't know, maybe he was having a bad day, but we will see him again later on, so don't worry. It wasn't long until I found someone that actually had a lot to tell me. Vincent Vile.
How's it going? Not bad, how about yourself?
Just high, grinding level the way. I don't know what compels you to play Fusionfall of all games while you're high, but hey, man, whatever it takes to get through the missions, keep doing your thing. Firstly, he let me know that people mainly get on during the night, most likely to do the missions so that they can fall asleep faster. You know what, I'm sorry, I gotta stop clowning on these missions. We know they're bad at this point, okay? I gotta stop. It did feel like more people were on during the night, but I wasn't completely sure until now. But this guy, he's been fighting the good fight because 6 different attempts he's had at trying to beat this game. I don't know whether I should feel bad for him at this point, like bro, you gotta stop at some point, like you're getting high trying to beat the game, like you gotta stop now. But this is the one he dropped something big that I actually never knew about the original game. There's a final boss and a final level. I always assumed that this game was like one of those MMORPGs where you just go to level 99 and you can keep going, but turns out we actually have an end goal. We'll come back to this point in a bit, but he also gave me a hint as to what people will do once they're done leveling up. Drip farming. Simply collecting different outfits from loot boxes that enemies drop. So we'll have to see later on if I get to talk to someone high level and see if that's what they really get up to once they're done leveling up. So I was curious if Retribution was a worldwide server or if it was region based, and Vincent tells me he's from the US, so of course it is a worldwide server, which is interesting because he also tells me that the peak player count is 50 to 75 players. The reason he knows is because you can either get the launcher or a file just for the game download. I had the game download, but the launcher actually tells you how many players are online, so I do get that later on. But it is crazy. 50 to 75 people worldwide is the peak. And I can tell you this right now, during my whole playthrough, it never peaked at 50. The most I got was 40 and the average was about 30. The last thing that I assumed about this game would be that it would be a pretty tight-knit community, but unfortunately the way the game operates, like I said earlier, it doesn't really allow that to be a huge thing. Like, a community does exist in the game, but it's more so because you have to get the game through Discord and join that community rather than the game itself. There's no reason to party up with someone because enemies are easy to beat. There's no central hub type of area either, The best thing that you'll find is Peach Creek Commons for that reason, because people go here to do their trades, and that's the most people that you'll ever get in one location. Before we leave Vincent here to keep being high, I want to bring up one last thing, which was the level like I said earlier. The final level is level 36, which means he's never beaten it, but he was 2 levels away before they shut that server down. But more importantly, it means that I'm able to actually finish this game within the 30 days I'm staying here. All I need to do was do a minimum of 1 level per day, and I'll be able to reach the final level and finally beat my childhood game that I never got to beat because I forgot my password. Unfortunately, I never see Vincent again after this, which is a little concerning because, you know, he was high and just disappeared. Never saw him again, so I'm sure he's okay. The rest of day 2 was simply grinding out some missions and just exploring more of the game. With day 2 coming to a close, it was a pretty important day for me because not only am I gonna find out why people still play this game, but I also want to beat the game myself as well now. Day 3 was off to a good start. This is where I first learned that Peach Creek was used as a trading ground because you get one free bank and one other bank that you have to pay $500,000 for. You will find more places like this later on, but because the entry level for this place is so low, it makes for a great pseudo hub because anyone can join here. This is where I meet Finn Hornhoover and my first run in with one of the goats of this server, Skyrunner. We have no interaction with Sky at the time, but we'll catch up with them later on in the video. But back to right now, it's the first time I really felt part of a small community, and was even gifted free items once again without needing to ask. This is also the first time I've really seen what high level people get up to, and it was indeed trading for outfits and such. I couldn't pass up this chance to ask my first high level person why they still choose to play a game that they've beaten. So, bad news, it took him 3 months to beat the game. I don't have 3 months, so I'm just hoping this guy just has a life. His advice for beating the game was to simply focus on missions, not focus on any grinding, as well as using a scavenge nano, which is if you kill an enemy you get a bit more fusion matter, which is the level bar in the game. However, I didn't have one yet, or so I thought, but for now, I was back to doing the amazing missions to level up, with no drip like all those high levels got. This is the point where I really start to feel how dead the game really is, especially after seeing so many people in one location, because I don't interact with anyone else for the rest of the day. Day 4 starts off feeling quite lonely. This guy literally didn't even acknowledge my presence, so we're off to a great start. Around this level range, like level 7 onwards for a bit, is where people really focus on their missions, and you'll be lucky if they even stop for a second for you to be able to say hi to them. Which is somewhat understandable because the way the map is structured, the next easy warp location isn't for a while, and at this point it really starts to become a lot of back and forth, so people most likely just want to get these done, get out of the way, and get to that next big location. It's very solo driven like Vincent did say, which is a shame. I thought, I don't know, some very tight bosses, like the bosses that you see every 30 minutes. I thought maybe, you know, some people get on and do those types of bosses together, but enemies aren't hard to beat, so you don't really need someone else with you. There really isn't no point to have a group in this game, because it's so easy. I think traveling to and from places so often made me just focus on missions as well, as opposed to actively looking for people like Goon Boy. Sounded like he should be locked up. The Goon Boy, as per usual, played the original and wanted to come back for some nostalgia. There was also someone called Valerie who joined in on their conversation until she realised Goon Boy was right next to her, so she ran for her life. But I also didn't have the heart to tell her that the game is at its most fun point at the start of the game. I haven't mentioned it yet, but you can only take 4 missions at a time as well as one guide mission, which is where you'll most likely get one piece of armor or a weapon that is the strongest for your level at that time. Like a level 8 guide mission gun will be stronger than a standard level 8 mission gun. And I also noticed that the amount of missions that you get per level does vary, but you'll roughly get around 14 missions per level, at least for right now. So going back and forth not only in singular missions but also multiple missions that I needed to use my slow vehicle to get towards really felt like it was dragging on. It kinda felt that way from day 4 to day 5, but at least on day 5 I reached level 10. Day 6 was actually the most people I had ever seen on the server at one time, with 40 people, so I was hoping I could find some people to talk to along the way, which I did. I actually ended up seeing Finn again and another person called Superstar Alien, but it was just, hey, Hey. Alright, see you, man. I did ask Finn one question that had been plaguing my mind since I had first seen it. Are the vehicles worth 50,000 taros actually worth it? He said it's worth it if I'm level 36. So, after I've beaten the game. Which made no sense to me. But if I had 500k-ish, I would. I will never have 500k, but I appreciate your optimism. You're playing for a month straight? Yeah, I am. Did I tell him that before? Okay, then it makes more sense to buy. Okay. I also wanted to know if trading was worth it right now, which I assume not, since I'm constantly getting new items and new weapons, so I'm constantly switching out. And he backed up my assumption by saying it's not worth it. He once again brings up a scavenge nano, which I said before I thought I didn't have it. Turns out I actually do have it, but I need to swap out my nano's power, which you can do for each nano. They do get 3 powers each you can select from. So I plan to do just that after finishing up my conversation with him. But I had one more question that I wanted to ask him. Why do you still play this game? He tells me he doesn't have everything, so he's just here for collection, which does back up what Vincent said. People are here for collection and drip farming, things like that. But this guy Finn, he was on a whole different level of seriously committed to getting the drip. Yeah, basically, and I'm collecting everything for 5 of my characters. 5? 16? He has 16 different characters, which apparently isn't uncommon. The players in this game might just be going insane. I took Finn's advice and changed Buttercup to a scavenge nano, and in hindsight, I wish I didn't, because the increased fusion matter only works if you actively have the scavenge nano out, and the bonus that you get isn't even that big. It's actually quite small. Let's say you normally get 36 fusion matter from 1 kill. The scavenge nano will bump it up to 48, which is really nothing, so instead I just focused on my missions. As I approached my next destination, I met another guy called Toxic Scaven, who actually added me first. One of the most chill guys you could meet in this game. He offered me to join a Discord, but I rejected his offer because I wanted the conversations to happen within the game instead of outside of the game. But in hindsight, I think maybe it would have been good to know what people actually got up to while they were leveling up. But like everyone, we all played the OG and wanted to get back into the swing of it. But this guy actually played it retro. You know, the one that got taken out back and shut down by Cartoon Network. Yeah, he played that one. But apparently he's pretty active in the Discord and he actually knows some devs as well. So this guy could get you banned just like that. Toxic is pretty open to conversation, and he himself said that he's pretty much open to doing whatever because it helps the game stay feeling alive. I love this mindset because simply just like saying hi to someone or giving a compliment really helps the game feel alive, because you're not just passing by someone not saying anything, like just doing your own thing. You're actually talking to someone, having a conversation, making their day. Just doing small things really helps keep it feeling alive. But I let him get on with his day. He's a busy man, but I took what he said to heart, and I even start saying hi to more people, even if, you know, maybe they don't want to say hi, and just giving a compliment can really go a long way because it really helps build that sense of community. The rest of day 6 was just more grinding, as well as day 7. Day 8, I made a huge investment by finally purchasing a 50,000 Taurus vehicle. This was like night and day with how fast these two vehicles were, and it was easily my best purchase that I made during my whole playthrough. Look at how much speedier it is to get around now. Oh my god, it's so much better. So much easier. It was so worth it. Traveling was so much easier now. Getting through missions was so much faster now. It was just all around improved. Better experience. Getting through the game a lot faster. It felt great. If you're curious to know how I get through each level, what I'll do is I'll do every single mission that is given to me on that level, because the XP you get, even if you reach the maximum of the bar, will carry over into the next level, and that makes it a lot easier to level up and also manage how many missions that I have. I'm starting to go to different areas now, both the northern side of the map, which is more like mountain and trees, and the southern side of the map, which is more like the city side. And I definitely preferred the city side and always have for some reason. I don't know why, I just preferred it. However, with the map expanding more and more, it meant I was getting sent everywhere. Like back in my day, I had to walk halfway across the country to get to school, you know, that type of thing. Yeah, it felt like that. It's just, once again, bland mission design, because the map itself is actually really cool and really diverse. But something I didn't expect to happen happened. I saw Bakemono once again. Not a lot of people here this time. Is this Odyssey? No, it's not. Oh, it's back in mono. Hey, back in mono. It's just all guns. Damn, you didn't even acknowledge my message. 2 run-ins, and he's acting like we ain't ever spoke before. Like I'm a ghost. I'm muted. I don't know what I did to this man, but it's actually really sad because this is the last time I ever see him, and we just end up like that. Like damn, man. I thought we had something going together. At this point, you can really tell how tired I am of doing the missions by my reaction to this.
I might be able to
Part 1 of 5. Part 1 of 5. So for the rest of the day, I just focused on getting them done. Day 9, all of my missions on level 13 were really focused in the city, so it would have been around this point in the OG that I forgot my password. So everything past here is completely new to me, completely fresh, and I was looking forward to it. Other than that though, not a whole lot happened today except just going up another level. We finally reached day 10 and I'm level 14 by this point. To give you a perspective of how far away the missions are, you can see on the map here. Apart from these 2 missions which are glitched event missions, you can't do those anymore. I have to go from north side to south side so often. So through my first 10 days in this game, I made a small observation. Past the level with just a whole bunch of headgear and face gear. And for some reason I look American now, but hopefully that should improve my aiming now. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to level up. I don't think it will. Yeah, usually it takes about 2.5 hours to level up. So that's the average, roughly 2.5 hours to get through 14 or so missions. Which isn't bad to be fair, all things considered, and the XP carries over. But I actually wouldn't know. This is a blessing to have this many missions, because it will soon become a big problem for me. Through doing all of these missions all over the place, I have realized if the missions were better, it would actually be a really fun game because the map is really good, it's really varied, and there are a lot of enemy designs. However, this is where I first discover one of my hated infected zones. Up until this point it felt somewhat fun to get through these places, but now it's like, okay buddy, we're gonna have to slow you down here, you're getting through this game a bit too fast for our liking. And through some of the later infected zones as well, it just felt like they really drag on. I don't know why they tried to slow it down. It was really once you were in the mountains that I felt like you were banished from society. People are only here if they're leveling up because there's nothing else here. There's no bank, so no high level people are staying around here. And it's a minimum level that you need to be to even reach this place. So it feels really dead, there's no one here. The more you level up, the more isolated it starts to feel and you just start focusing on your missions because there's no one to really talk to. I did find something cool about this game though, that being the choice to have an optional nano. I just found it cool there were other ways to get certain nanos, but that's pretty much the most interesting thing that happened at the end of my day. Day 11 started off the same, but we finally found some new people to talk to, and for the first time in 10 years, I was called a noob. Honestly, kinda nostalgic. This was less of a conversation and more just having fun saying stupid things, but it was such a breath of fresh air after all the grinding I've been doing. But Alice Thunder and guy's name I will not say, very cool people and very fun to hang out with. But now it's back to my regularly scheduled grinding and some people pretending like I don't exist. For the first time I actually changed my guide because I didn't like the cosmetics Ben was giving me and wanted to wear something cooler, so I switched to Mojo Jojo. This guide swapping thing right now doesn't have a huge benefit, but it would be useful later on. By the end of the day, I used the crockpot, which is like, if you like the stats of one thing, but you like the look of another thing, you can sacrifice the item with the stats and you can get it on the new look. It was the first time I really got invested in making my very own Vogue outfit. The rest of the day, I explored what would be my favourite infected zone in the game, and I was able to get to level 18 by the end of the day. Day 12 wasn't much of anything. As I said earlier, you're kinda lucky if you find someone as you're leveling up. Day 13 would have been the same, but for level 19, you actually get an optional nano mission, which is easily one of the hardest things in the game, which I decided to tackle once I was level 20, so that level 20 felt a bit more monumental, getting 2 nanos at one time, if that makes sense. This place was a completely unique designed level just for her nano, along with enemies that actually took a lot of damage and dealt a lot of damage, so I actually had to take my time and not rush it. There we go. Oh. They respawned. This is hard. Okay, we're back here again. What? Oh no. This one like drops too after he dies for some reason. So I need to be really careful there. No. No, it's right there. That's right there. For the first time, I had to use my brain in this game. This was groundbreaking stuff. It was actually quite fun and challenging. All this to not even use her nano, and I also got another optional nano, Coop, which I never use either, so I got 3 nanos on 1 level, and it felt great. It was a lot of fun today. Last time we leveled up to level 20, but we didn't complete all the level 19 missions because they didn't all show up for some reason. Maybe along the way we'll find some more missions as we progress. But we'll finish them all eventually and get to where we actually need to be. Because right now, of course, we're a quarter of the way, well not even a quarter of the way, but almost a quarter of the way to level 21. But it should be much higher. As you heard, for some reason some missions aren't showing up on the map anymore. We've encountered our first bug. Certain characters like Dexter, Ben and Mojo Jojo won't show up on the map at all for some reason. It's just a bug, you kinda gotta deal with it, which I'm sure you can guess can slow you down quite a bit because you don't know what missions you have or don't have. And at this point I wasn't even sure if I had a lot of missions or not because my progress bar was a lot less than what it normally would be. So I was literally just going around to each location just making sure I didn't miss any missions until I actually started my level 20 missions. No, also look at this. He has like 4 different missions for me. Not showing up on the map. I don't know why, but I could have missed all of this. It just had to become business as usual because it will stay like this until the end. Day 15 was going to be the same as usual until someone actually stops me and wants my attention to give me free stuff. What he gave me actually wasn't that good. It was nothing crazy, but it was still a nice gesture, and I want to take this chance to also ask why my missions aren't showing up on the map anymore, which is when I found out the info I stated earlier that these 3 don't show up. But this is when the fabled Skyrunner appears out of nowhere. It's moments like these that really make me feel part of the community, because just seeing someone I've already met before in the past, or just having a laugh with someone in the server, these are easily my favourite moments in the game, and I love these moments. This is where I meet Blair Chaos King. Take note of him because he's gonna be a very important part of this journey. But for now I want to check whether I have to grind more through killing enemies because of this mission bug, since I don't know if all my missions are done. This is when the info that Vincent told me about days ago comes in handy. Switching guides and doing those specific missions for the guide that you pick. It wasn't needed earlier on, but this is definitely the point where you need to start doing it. The only downside is that if you do a mission for a guide you haven't done yet, they start at the beginning at level 4, so you get the tiniest amount of XP until you work your way up to higher level missions. Thankfully though, since I did some of Ben's missions already before I switched to Mojo Jojo for the outfits, I got through all of those missions and was able to get to level 22. Day 16, not much happened, but I did discover something. I've seen people using wings and I was jealous. I wanted wings too, and I was like, how do I get wings? Because I never actually had the chance to get wings ever. Turns out they're event exclusive, but it was cool to find out that there are items you can only get for a limited period of time, which means you can only trade for them now. But that was for another day. Aside from that, not a whole lot happened aside from the norm. Same with day 17. The only notable thing was that I had reached the Forsaken Valley, which is the final region of the game, for the first time ever. Before the end of the day, I briefly ran into Blair again. I didn't talk to him, but he's in this area for a reason. I focused on my missions for today, but let's follow up on Blair in day 18. Day 18, I entered the catacombs, which ends up being a pretty important location. Not much happened until I was reaching the end of my day, and I end up seeing Blair and finally having a real conversation with him. By first finding out why he's down here killing level 26 enemies at level 32
and farming the Eyes of Ancient Evil. Imagine them on this outfit, oh my god. I've been down here for 3 weeks.
The Eyes of Ancient Evil is one of, if not the rarest cosmetic in the game. He started farming at level 27. I don't think you understand how much time it takes to level up through enemies alone from level 27 to level 32, and to still not have the eyes. That just goes to show how rare the eyes actually are. But his reasoning for wanting these eyes is so simple. He just wants to complete his outfit. The length that people go to getting their outfit in this game is crazy. Like damn, put all that effort into getting a job. I'm kidding. It's so rare, it's got its own rarity. Ultra rare is like good luck getting that. Extra rare is like you must have done no bad in your life. You must be praying to the gods for that type of luck because you're gonna need it. But on top of all of that, it only drops from a gold crate, which in itself is lucky. But what he tells me next would have made me crash out.
1 in 200 gold crates only? My friend got 2 of them yesterday and left me to farm my lone.
3 weeks of grinding, his friend didn't give him a single pair. And to make it worse, Blair told me if he got 2, he would have given his friend 1 pair. Like, that just goes to show how kind and generous this guy is. The eyes are worth 3.5 million or above, so his friend obviously was blinded by the money. Like, you could have stayed to help, but you left him alone to grind. This is the type of greed that you learn in the Bible. After learning this story, we both left the catacombs and he was willing to help me, as well as this other guy called Bullhammer. He had no reason to, he just wanted to help us. The only thing I asked was more info on wings, and this guy, being as generous as he is, told me he might have a pair for me, but he offered me even more just because he loves to help people. He did give me a few things which weren't selling well in his trade shop because he thought I'd make better use of it, and he told me he didn't have any wings, but what he meant was he didn't have any wings for my level. He gave me a set of wings for free, no money, and the reason he gave them to me is because when he first started out the game, someone gave him an item to look forward to level up towards. And he's doing the exact same thing for me, which really did make me look forward to leveling up. But this is when I really learned about him as a person. Like, it's taken him 3 weeks to grind because he has 2 jobs. One is a 7 nights a week job and the other is a 3 days a week job. And somehow he also has enough time to grind on here. And he does tell me it does get hard, but he manages. And I respect anyone that can do 2 jobs because 1 job was enough to make me hate life. And instead of telling me that it is hard to do 2 jobs, instead he tells me that I could do it. And I didn't think about it in that perspective, but yeah, of course, like, if I'm in that position, I need to do what I need to do. I could do anything, really. It doesn't take away from the fact that it is, of course, very tiring, but I do still admire him highly for being able to do it. But even more so because he's never taken a break, because he's in charge of a lot. But still, to be able to do 2 jobs and never take a break is insane to me. Money reasons aside, that to me was like, wow, that is really respectable. Because being able to relax, being able to have free time, everyone will take that opportunity if they're able to do it. While I do really respect it, I'm also really like, damn, I wish this guy could take a break and be in a position where he could take a break, because he is one of the most helpful and kind people I've ever met. But to top all of this off, he also has 3 rescue cats that he looks after, so he really does have a lot of responsibilities both at home and not at home. I did ask him why he got into the game and why he still chooses to play the game, but he gave me a very personal reason that I'm sure he doesn't want out in the open, so just to keep it vague, I'll say that Fusionfall was his very first MMO, and that moment was very important to him. I'm really grateful that I met this guy, and just hearing his story and his struggles, it really opened my eyes to like, this game could really be really important to someone in that way, that it could like relieve them of the stress that they have through life and be able to unwind and relax. I never really thought that this game could be that type of game for someone, but of course it could be, because anything can really be that way for anyone. Before the end of our conversation, he gave me yet another item which was pretty cool, and I wanted to make sure to keep it even if I myself don't typically use melee weapons in this game. He even gave me tips on the best way to use it as well, which was really nice of him. However, it was getting pretty late for me, so I did have to go. Otherwise I would have kept talking to him 100%, but I'm really glad to have at least met him. Day 19, I started to use the clock system, which just showed you how unlucky I was.
It's a very low chance, but very low, but if I just keep doing it again and again, eventually it'll work, right? Try 5 more times.
There we go. Until I got it to eventually work, but while I did give melee a try, this was when I realized, yeah, I ain't that guy. However, after hearing Blair grinding for 3 weeks, I want to at least try and help him, even if I myself am extremely unlucky in this game. It wasn't going well to say the least, but I briefly spoke to this guy that saw me grinding and he wished me luck. Yeah, I didn't get the eyes, so I changed up my plan. Once I reached level 30 minimum, I planned to come back here again and try my luck once again. After doing some missions, I went back to Peach Creek Commons and decided to test my luck another way by simply asking whether people are selling wings since I thought maybe I could get one a bit lower level for now. And turns out, someone actually was selling wings. I ended up getting one pair for free and another pair for 50k, which was actually huge because this is my first ever transaction dealing with money, so it was kinda cool. The white ones were also only level 29. It was getting to that point where I need to start figuring out what my final outfit is gonna be. Genuinely, I think people's favourite pastime in this game is just giving stuff out for free because I now have a pet bird called Taro. Why is it called Taro? I don't know, I just decided to call it that. But it was back to my favourite pastime in this game. Missions. Day 20 and day 21 was just doing my usual level grinding. The only problem now is that from level 28 onwards, I really need to start using my guide missions because they don't give you as many missions here for some reason. I think this place only gave me like 6 missions. So what now? I'm a good ways away from level 29. And I have no more missions left. Change our guide, I guess. I'm just gonna do all the guide missions for Ben, and that might put me over the threshold to level 29. If not, then depending on how small it is, I might just grind some enemies or I'll do another guide. So I was switching out guides, doing missions all the way from level 4 again to work my way back up. But now I can finally equip the wings. This was definitely the point where I realized why people farm and just collect cosmetics, because there's a lot of variety in this game with the outfits. They're really cool and how diverse they actually are. For the rest of the day, I focused on doing my level 29 missions, which was kind of surreal because I only have missions in this final section of the game now. Just so you guys can see how little missions I get now, this is the XP that I have after doing every single mission given to me. Good, so he gave me half a level. I used to complain about having so many missions, and now I actually miss them. So unless you're just grinding through enemies, which will take you a long time, guide missions is easily the best way to go for this final stretch of the game. Day 22, instead of leveling up yesterday, I left it for today, so we'll get 2 levels done in one day. Considering it is the final section of the game, I want to reach the end as soon as I could. I bought my first bank, which did cost me my life savings, quite literally, because I needed more space, but you know, now I'm broke. Aside from doing missions, I actually ended up finding someone that was stuck here at level 14. They must have warped to someone high level and just like got abandoned. I don't know. There's a menace out there just leaving level 14s in the final location of the game. I helped them out and that was the end of my day. Day 23, I got invaded by an actual demon sent from the game. It was one of the most terrifying things I expected to see. But aside from that horrifying experience, let's get back to what we were doing. Before I got attacked and invaded. Oh my gosh. And having to go through easily the biggest infected zone that took ages to get around, and I hated whenever I had a mission in here. It wasn't too bad today. And honestly, day 24 through to the end here was really just missions and guide missions. But there are a couple notable things that I do want to bring up before we reach the final mission. I met Sheravina, who was trying to get a rune sword, which is apparently even rarer than the eyes that Blair was trying to get and grind 3 weeks for. So if it's even rarer than that, I'd be here for a whole year trying to get that weapon. You wanna know how much it costs to buy this weapon if someone sold it to you? 5 to 7 million. That is double the amount that the eyes go for. But it's actually insane because this item is not only as rare as the eyes, but it's gonna be harder to get because you can only get this weapon at level 36. So you're actually gonna be having a harder time grinding for the sword than you would the eyes. This is the only time I saw her though, so hopefully she was lucky enough to get that weapon. The last thing I want to bring up is that I finally reached the final level 36, but more importantly, I have my first real conversation with one of the goats of this server, Skyrunner, who I'm pretty sure is one of the top players on the server, and she had a request for me The me that got called a noob back then is now getting requests from the top players. How far we've come. Someone she knows wanted this level 36 crate. Not sure why, didn't ask. All I saw was 250,000 taros. Say less, I got you. I got that done immediately. And I got back to her and saw she has this rune sword worth 5 to 7 million. Not to mention that wing, 7.5 million or more. This is how I know that she's her, because she bought this with money. She had this much money just willing to spare. Now how I know all of these prices is because she told me that there was a price guide. Now what this does is pretty much just let you know, hey, you should be selling this item for this amount. Don't scam people. People can check if you're scamming them. It basically just keeps everything in check, keeps it all regulated. You know what's in demand, that kind of stuff. Now I didn't ask Sky directly why she still plays this game, but going off her response to someone else in the area and the rare items that she does have, she's most likely still playing for the collection as well. But now, the last thing to do was finish this game. It was somewhat challenging because there was a lot of infection on the floor which can drain my health over time, along with the enemies in the area, so I had to switch out my nanos. You probably didn't notice because I haven't brought out my nanos, but the Mongo used to be in my slot 1. Now it is Mandark because he has an antidote which can stop the infection. Until I was on the last mission where I needed something for this boss. I switched out to Courage for healing, and turns out you can't use 2 healing nanos at the same time, which makes sense I guess. My final pick was to use Coco because I wanted the guard ability, which slightly lessens the damage that I take from enemies, which also means I have more time to heal. Now it was time to go and beat that final boss.
Oh wait. Wait, what? You missing an arm? There we go. There we go. It did save the progress. You finally beat Fuse there.
I've played way too many Souls games because I expected my progress to reset. Turns out it saved, so it wasn't too bad in the end. And with that, my journey in this game has come to an end. I finally finished one of my childhood games that I never got to finish, and also got my answer as to why people still choose to play this game. For most people, it's a matter of nostalgia. People simply want to play their childhood game again that got shut down, and aside from wanting to beat the game, there are actually quite a few reasons that people will stay. This game has a great community. Everyone in this game is genuinely just the most kind, fun, and helpful people. This game has a huge range of cosmetics and rare items that people want to get. It has a whole pricing system that allows for fair trades as well. There's also limited time events as well, which I didn't get to experience, but of course with limited time items, people will want to come back, try and get those items as well. And these are all just surface level reasons. I'm sure there's also plenty of people that have a deeper connection to the game just like Blair did. I even tried to help him out once again at the end here, but unfortunately my luck is still terrible. I didn't get the eyes. It's unfortunate, but hopefully he got them, maybe he bought them, maybe he got lucky. Hopefully he got the eyes. I'm wishing the best for that guy. But there was one last thing I wanted to do before I logged out of this game and turned the final page on this story. Much like how Blair told me he was given items to look forward to and did the same for me, I wanted to do the same for someone else low level in this game as well.
I feel like I've lost everyone now. I can't find anyone. This is what I mean by like when the game feels dead, it is dead. Like I'm trying to find people and I can't find anyone. Who is this guy? Oh, it's Viper. You know what, let me invite to trade, maybe he'll accept it. You have the whole notification on your screen, how have you not? Please say something. This is the most dead that I've seen this game. I've seen a total of like 4 or 5 people. This guy's still here but he doesn't say anything. Oh, hi. Please, trade with me, please. So along with a few items that I gave them for free, I also gave them all of my money, and hopefully they're able to beat this game just like I was and be able to use these items I gave him. Hopefully he puts his money to good use and the wings looks forward to using those. I think it went to the right person. He's the only one that actually stopped and spoke. I had a great time in this game though. A lot of fun people, a lot of great people. It does have its own like little charm to it, its own nostalgic old game charm. Hey man, that stuff could have been yours but you don't want to talk. Thank you to the Fusionfall community for being such kind, helpful and fun people. If it wasn't for all of the people that I met, my experience wouldn't be nearly as fun as it was. So thank you, honestly, you made my experience so much better. And thank you guys so much as well for watching this video until the end. I really appreciate all of your support. And yeah, I hope you have a good day, and bye.
My story will